When you're starting off playing in tabletop games, one of the things that always can stifle a new game master is the rules, and I know that keeps a lot of people from getting involved in our hobby. The fact that they aren't comfortable running a game because they don't know all the rules. It's kept me from running games such as Fantasy Age and Dragon Age and things like that. It kept me for the longest time when I was first getting into it from running Heroes Unlimited and Rifts. And plus on top of that, the fact that so much feels like it's placed on the dungeon master or the game master. It feels like you're responsible for everybody having fun no matter what. And so a lot of pressure is put on you to know the rules when you're getting into this hobby. So how important are the rules really? I would say they're not as important as we make them out to be. I think it's more important that we're consistent with whatever our rules are for at least the duration of the game session. And if you decide between sessions that you want to do something different, whether it's changing to doing it by the book or changing it to doing it house ruled, as long as you tell your players, I think for the most part it's okay. But there's going to be people who disagree, and there's going to be people who say that the rules are extremely important. And you're entitled to your opinion. I don't agree. I've played some great games that did not go by the rules, and I've played some terrible games that did not go by the rules. And it's all come down to what I thought felt more fair. I think there were times when I've played in games that the lack of consistency, the expectations were never set, and it led to some very poor games that I did not have a lot of fun in. When I tried to role play certain things, it didn't matter. It ultimately always came down to, well, the book says this on this page, or maybe they didn't say that. Maybe they would say, well, in my games, you can't do that because that's unrealistic. Changing what my perception was in the middle of the game killed it, and it pulled me from the game and made those campaigns not very much fun. So I think the rules, while they are important, it's more important how you use the rules, how consistent you are with the rules, how you set the guidelines up front for how you're going to rule things. For example, I try to tell my players that if I don't know a rule, I'm going to run with what I think is the most fair for the situation, and I will figure it out before the next game. Or sometimes I will say, hey, look up that rule, we'll do it by the book. And I just do that, and it just depends on what it is. A lot of times, if it's a class, like for instance, if I'm running 5th edition D&D, if it's a class-specific rule, then I kind of know where it's at in the book. And so I will either look it up or I will delegate that to somebody at my table to look that rule up. If it's not something that is class-specific or trait-specific or feat-specific, whatever, then I will ultimately say, okay, this is what we're going to do. We'll look it up either when we take a break or we'll look it up after the game. And it hasn't seemed to have been too much of a problem. I think I've only had one issue with somebody playing in my game that didn't like how I ruled on certain things. And that was because they thought that I allowed too many things that weren't realistic. But I always set that expectation up front. I tell people, I run games allowing my players to do crazy things. If you do something that I could imagine happening in a Hollywood movie, for instance, Lord of the Rings, if I could imagine that happening in Lord of the Rings, even if it's not realistic, I will pretty much allow you to do it as long as you succeed on your rolls. And chances are I'm going to make you roll for it when you try to do something crazy. For example, Legolas running across the dwarfs' heads in The Hobbit. I'll let you do that, but you're going to be making an acrobatics check and athletics and possibly more. Who knows? Maybe multiple athletics or acrobatics checks. It depends on what you're saying you want to do. But I allow it. And if you succeed on those, I usually reward you. You know, if you're leaping off of something like a 3-story building and swinging down on someone, yes, you're going to make an athletics check to make the jump or to, you know, stick the landing or whatever. And if you succeed, you're going to do something really awesome. If you fail, it's going to hurt. So I try to be fair with it, but I also, you know, there's some crazy things, and it doesn't always sit well with people. Like I said, I've had one person that for sure didn't like it in one of my games, and he told me about it. So again, it's clear expectations, clear guidelines. You know, ultimately what is in the book, I mean, you can technically throw it out and run a game and have a blast without using those rules. You could say, look, we're going to roll this, and no matter what, this is how it's going to go. And you can still have a great time. So it all ultimately comes down to the role playing, in my opinion, and the story and the situations. So, and your characters, just like any good book or movie, the characters are really important. So rules, not as important as people think. That's just my opinion. What are yours? Leave a comment below. Love to hear your thoughts, and be sure to share this video if you liked it. Thanks.